Tanjiro fought Yoriichi, or the Upper Moons, or even Muzan himself? How far could his strength truly go if he pushed beyond every limit? Let's start off with Tanjiro versus the Upper Moons.
What if Tanjiro fought every Upper Moon demon? Can he defeat them alone? How would he even go up against monsters like kokushibo and doma alone? Well, we have an answer to all that. I'll be splitting the forms of Tanjiro into 3 forms: his base form, peak human form, and a surprise form that you'll see at the end of the video. Well, we'll start with the weakest form, Tanjiro's base form. So what are Tanjiro's abilities? Well, in this form, Tanjiro already has awakened his Demon Slayer mark, granting him a boost in physical strength. He wields a bright red Nichiren sword, which gives him an edge over some Upper Moons by drastically slowing down their regenerative abilities with each slash. Additionally, Tanjiro possesses enhanced accuracy, extra sensory perception, genius battle IQ, and enhanced strength. Without gaining some enlightenment or plot armor protection, this form will be the strongest that Tanjiro can achieve normally. In this base form, Tanjiro is also quite proficient in using the water breathing technique. Well, the primary breathing technique he employs in this form is the Hinokami Kagura, which he can execute from the 1st to the 12th form of this technique. With that in mind, how would he do against the Upper Moons? Well, let's move on to the first encounter. Upper Moon 6, Daki and Gyutaro. With all the abilities mentioned earlier, it's safe to say that the base form Tanjiro will definitely win against them, albeit he'll be somewhat wounded. But that is if we haven't taken into account the siblings, conditional death and decapitation immunity, where Tanjiro has to cut both their heads off at the same time, which will prove to be quite troublesome. So how will Tanjiro overcome this? Well, first things first, Tanjiro would use his improved speed to catch Daki off guard, whereas in the original series, even when he's not in his most powerful base form, Tanjiro was still able to blitz her. But Gyutaro's abilities here with her and his blood demon art, they can have enough range to make Tanjiro just block their attacks, not giving him any time to counter. However, once he fully unlocks his Demon Slayer mark and uses extra sensory perception, he can find an opening to slash both of their necks in one go, especially if Daki is near Gyutaro. He'll be heavily poisoned by Gyutaro's blood demon art, which is said to be so potent that it's even dangerous for Inosuke. Overall though, Tanjiro will still be victorious over the Upper Moon 6 siblings. Moving on to Upper Moon 6 replacement, Kaigaku. Can Tanjiro win against this new Upper Moon? Well, just a short overview, Kaigaku is a former fellow disciple of Zenitsu, under the same master. He's a former demon slayer who uses a thunder breathing technique, and he combines it with blood demon arts, making him a formidable enemy. However, Kaigaku still wasn't able to beat Infinity Castle Zenitsu and was one-shotted even though he ate a large number of people and evolved his blood demon art. So, don't worry, with the base form Tanjiro's abilities, he will easily blitz through Kaigaku. Kaigaku is not as troublesome as Daki and Gyutaro. His speed might exceed Tanjiro's because of his experience with thunder breathing technique, but because of his arrogance and tendency to underestimate his opponents, he might throw a technique to capture Tanjiro and torture him in front of Zenitsu later. This would prove to be his downfall, as with one counter of Hinokami Kagura, Kaigaku's head will be separated from his body. Now, Tanjiro will be facing the troublesome Upper Moon 5 Gyoko. So what can Tanjiro do against one of the most annoying Upper Moons in terms of fighting style? Well, based on Gyoko's fight against the Miss Hashira, Muichiro, it's clear that the Miss Hashira is a perfect counter for Gyoko, but Tanjiro doesn't use mist breathing. Gyoko has the ability to teleport into different pots to avoid attacks, and when he touches something, it instantly transmutes into a fish. His poisons also make him extremely dangerous at close range. If any other Hashira were to fight Gyoko, he would most likely win, but the base form Tanjiro is not your average demon slayer and can be stronger than a Hashira. And considering Gyoko's egotistical nature, although it would still be a hard fight, where there'll be a moment where Tanjiro is trapped like Muichiro, he'll eventually emerge victorious by using sun breathing to push Gyoko into a corner and finish him off. However, he won't win without injuries. Pushing it a step further, let's talk about how Tanjiro will manage to defeat the Upper Moon 4, Hantengu. Well, Tanjiro's winning streak will probably come to an end at the hands of Hantengu. Just imagine fighting 4 demons, each comparable to Upper Moons, with different abilities, and if that isn't enough, Zohakuten. The final forms of his clones can utilize wood manipulation while using the blood demon art of the others. This virtually gives Hantengu an unpredictable attack pattern and near infinite combinations of how he'll use it against Tanjiro. But will Tanjiro be able to overcome Hantengu's assault? Well, on the off chance that Tanjiro manages to beat things to a standstill, he'll most likely run out of stamina and will overly fatigue from using Demon Slayer Mark and sun breathing for an extended period of time. In this battle of attrition, Tanjiro won't be able to defeat Hantengu, suffering his first loss. Moving on to another Upper Moon 4, Nakame. How will Tanjiro manage to beat her? Well, there are 2 sub-scenarios this fight can go to. First, if it's an open field where there's nothing but Tanjiro and Nakame, Tanjiro will just blitz her into oblivion. But if they're inside the Infinity Castle, then things take a more interesting turn. In the event that they do fight inside the Infinity Castle, Tanjiro would stand no chance against her if he's alone. And why is that? Well, Nakame's blood demon art allows her to manipulate the castle, where she could trap Tanjiro in an endless loop or crush him using the different parts of the structure, and it'll almost be impossible for Tanjiro to find her even with all the abilities he has for now. So in Tanjiro's base form, he can defeat 3 out of the 8 upper moons. What do you think about Tanjiro reaching his peak human form? It seems like he needs to enhance his abilities to take down the remaining demons, and that's where Tanjiro's peak human form comes in. In this form, he can utilize the 13th form of the sun breathing technique. Basically, he performs all 12 forms of sun breathing one after the other to improve his accuracy and agility and reduce fatigue. It was specifically developed to kill Muzan. Moreover, Tanjiro gains a transparent world ability, which allows him to predict his enemy's movements by looking inside his enemy's body. Not only that, Tanjiro will unlock the selfless state, which allows him to hide his fighting spirit, which is also considered to be the zenith of physical combat. But will Tanjiro's peak human form be enough to overcome the remaining formidable upper moon demons? Well, let's just say that using this form, Tanjiro will be able to beat Tengu because now he has the ability to blitz all of them at once through the 13th form of sun breathing. Adding to that, he can also defeat Nakame by using the selfless state and launching a sneak attack and causing her to panic because of the PTSD. Eventually, Tanjiro will win against both of them and move on to the next upper moons. Now that Tanjiro, who's stronger than ever, is facing Akaza, the one who killed Rengoku, we have to ask the question as to how their battle will play out. Akaza is undoubtedly a formidable fighter with his blood demon art techniques like technique deployment and compass needle. However, peak human Tanjiro can handle him because Akaza respects strength and enjoys a fair fight without resorting to petty tricks. With Tanjiro's transparent world ability to counter Akaza's blows, the fight will be easier for Tanjiro. Not only that, in the manga, we witness Akaza being slowly overwhelmed by Tanjiro, who didn't even fully master the 13th form of sun breathing. So will Tanjiro win this matchup? Well, it's safe to say that it'll definitely be a fight where Akaza will be able to hold his own and even grow back his head, even if Tanjiro manages to cut it off. In the end, however, Tanjiro will emerge victorious as sun breathing along with Red Nichiren's sword can stop his regeneration. After Tanjiro defeated the battle maniac Akaza, how would he go against the emotionless but sadistic Doma? Well, Doma may resort to mental attacks and tricks like taking hostages. If he uses these tactics, there's a high possibility that Tanjiro could be defeated since he values the lives of others, especially his comrades. It's uncertain if Doma will use schemes, but let's focus a one-on-one fight between them. In the manga, we only caught a glimpse of Doma's full power because he got poisoned by Shinobu due to his arrogance and playfulness. This weakened him significantly. However, assuming he retains his personality while fighting against peak human Tanjiro, Tanjiro could surprise him with a decapitating slash using the 13th form of sun breathing, weakening him or even killing him instantly. But without considering Doma's personality, Tanjiro's chances died down. The fight would be extremely close, with Doma using his cryokinesis to keep Tanjiro from engaging in close quarter combat while bombarding him with using his water lily Bodhisattva giant attacks. So, will Tanjiro's peak human form prove to be enough to overcome Doma's relentless onslaught? Well, things could go one way or the another, so this fight is a 50-50 result. So far, Tanjiro has 6 wins and 1 uncertain result out of the 8 upper moon demons, but we all know who he's coming up against. Now that Tanjiro's against the strongest demon other than Muzan, will he be able to survive this one? Well, even after the battle against the strongest Hashiras, Kokushibo wasn't completed, but just lost his will to live upon realizing the monstrous creature he had become. But what if that wasn't the case and he'll never consider to stop fighting? Well, considering Kokushibo has exceptional skills as a master swordsman with centuries of experience, mastery of the moon breathing technique, infinite stamina, enhanced regeneration, demon slayer mark, blood demon art, and the ability to the transparent world, I believe that Kokushibo would emerge as a victor in this fight against him. But is that really the case? Well, even if Tanjiro exerts his full strength and manages to land an attack using the 13th form of the sun breathing technique, Kokushibo's ability to heal himself and engage in an endurance battle by trading blows would give him the upper hand. There might be a chance Tanjiro can defeat Kokushibo if he gives his 110%, but if Kokushibo keeps on regeneration and possibly fully utilizing the monstrous form he showed off in the original timeline, then peak human Tanjiro would be defeated. But what if Tanjiro unleashed his strongest form? A form so strong that even Muzan believes that Tanjiro is the strongest being in the entire existence of the series. Yes, you know what we're talking about. Muzan himself again stated that if you don't like and subscribe to this channel, he will show up at your bed at night. So let's do it now. Yes, to fully overcome the remaining upper moons without further debate, Tanjiro needs to be in Demon King form, also known as Demon King Tanjiro. So just how strong is Demon King Tanjiro? Well, in this state, he becomes immune to the sun, possesses much stronger regeneration than Muzan, and gains all of Muzan's abilities. Essentially, Demon King Tanjiro represents a perfected form of Muzan, rendering him immortal and unbeatable within the Demon Slayer universe. The only way to defeat him is through a cure, which the upper moon demons do not possess. Best of all, he still has knowledge of sun breathing, if and only if he gains his consciousness and memories back. With his newfound power, Demon King Tanjiro can swiftly overpower Doma and Kokushibo, possibly even controlling them as he inherits all of Muzan's abilities. Moreover, he can potentially single-handedly destroy the Infinity Castle along with Nakame and blitz other annoying upper moons. In this form, Tanjiro is an unstoppable being capable of defeating all the upper moons, even if they were to join forces against him. Now, Demon King Tanjiro wins against all upper moons, even combined, but what if Yoriichi fought all of them? Can he win? Will the strongest upper moons be able to defeat the most powerful Demon Slayer in history? Take a look at our next video to find out. What if Demon King Tanjiro fought Yoriichi? Could Yoriichi blitz through Demon King Tanjiro as he did to Muzan, or will this be the first defeat for the strongest Demon Slayer? Then, the unthinkable happened. During the final arc of Demon Slayer, Tanjiro faced off against a formidable Muzan. The battle was fierce, and in a shocking turn of events, Muzan poisoned Tanjiro with his blood. Tanjiro's face swelled up, and he was on the brink of death, but in his unconscious state, he had a vision of the creator of sun breathing. This vision led him to a startling realization. His Hinokami Kagura was merely an imitation of the original sun breathing technique. Tanjiro, being the quick thinker that he is, managed to alter his technique, awakening the true power of the sun breathing technique. He cycled from the first form to the 12th form over and over again until he created a perfect 13th form to slay Muzan. And do you know what happened next? Well, as the sun began to rise, Tanjiro, with the help of the remaining Hashiras, Inosuke, and Zenitsu, pinned Muzan down. Muzan tried to shield himself from the sun by transforming into a giant baby, but it was too late. He began to burn away, marking the end of his reign of terror. But wait, the story doesn't end there. In a shocking twist of fate, Muzan's blood that entered Tanjiro's body turned him into a demon. The Demon Slayers discovered something truly mind-blowing. Tanjiro was immune to the sun. With his newfound immunity, Tanjiro gained all of the abilities of Muzan. Shape-shifting, regenerations, but do you know what the scariest part is? Well, Demon King Tanjiro doesn't have an actual weakness. With his immunity to the sun, he has become a perfect being, no longer vulnerable to the rays of sunlight along with Nichiren blades. Even the mighty Crimson Nichiren sword would be rendered useless against him. I guess you could say that Tanjiro really took the phrase, if you can't beat them, join them, to a whole new level. But things get even crazier, so stay tuned until the end. Have you ever wondered what it takes to become a legendary figure in the world of demon slaying? Well, let's delve into the captivating history and the awe-inspiring abilities of Yoriichi Tsugikuni, the strongest demon slayer in the Demon Slayer universe. Yoriichi lived nearly 500 years ago during the Sengoku era, a time known as the Golden Age of Demon Slayers. He was not only a formidable warrior, but also the inventor of breathing styles, creating the very first breathing style that would later evolve into the powerful Hinokami Kagura used by Tanjiro Kamado in the Kamado family. At the tender age of just 7 years old, Yoriichi displayed his incredible prowess by effortlessly defeating a trained sword instructor. And get this, it was his very first time picking up a sword. Yoriichi was known for his calmness and for rarely showing outbreaks of emotion. This demeanor was evident in his ability to kill demons without changing his expression, leaving his opponents caught off guard by his immense skill. But did you know that Yoriichi's journey as a demon slayer began with a tragedy? Well, his wife and unborn child were devoured by demons, but did it break him? Well, it merely fueled him with determination to eradicate these vile creatures. But little did he know that this tragedy would shape him into an unstoppable force he would become. As an official demon slayer, Yoriichi possessed abilities that were beyond his imagination. Speed, strength, and mastery of demon slayer techniques left every demon he encounters trembling in fear. But on one fateful day, Yoriichi crossed paths with the Demon King himself, Muzan, accompanied by Lady Tameo. In their battle, Yoriichi effortlessly overpowered Muzan, coming dangerously close to ending his reign of terror. But Muzan managed to escape, leaving behind deep wounds in his traumatized soul. Here's another interesting thing about Yoriichi. He was not only a force to be reckoned with, but he was also the first to process the coveted Demon Slayer mark. How did you think Yoriichi acquired it? Through rigorous training or through a life or death battle? Well, he already had it since birth. The mark amplified his already formidable abilities, making him an even greater threat to the demons that plague the world. Fast forward to Yoriichi's old age. As a fitting end for the strongest demon slayer, Yoriichi met his demise while standing tall, undefeated. With Yoriichi's status as the strongest demon slayer and the inventor of breathing styles, his battle against Demon King Tanjiro is bound to be one of the best battles yet in any manga. The knowledge and mastery of techniques that Yoriichi possesses will undoubtedly play a crucial role in this epic confrontation. Will Yoriichi's unparalleled skills be enough to kill the formidable Demon King Tanjiro, or will Tanjiro prove to be an insurmountable challenge? Who will emerge victorious? Well, this will be a battle between the strongest demon slayer to ever exist and the strongest demon to ever set his eyes on the world. The knowledge and mastery of techniques that Yoriichi possesses will undoubtedly play a crucial role in this epic confrontation. Now, let's dive into the intense fight between Yoriichi and Demon King Tanjiro. While Yoriichi may possess greater attack power and superior superior techniques, the outcome of this battle is far from certain. But why is that? Well, Yoriichi is undeniably a formidable opponent. With his incredible speed, vast experience, and mastery of sun breathing, his skills as a fighter surpasses those of Demon King Tanjiro. However, in a fight to the death, Yoriichi's human limitations come into play. Yoriichi, being human, will eventually succumb to fatigue and exhaustion, leading to his eventual demise. On the other hand, Demon King Tanjiro is essentially immortal. He does not age, possesses no known weaknesses, and the only way to truly defeat him is to find a way to cure him or eradicate every single demon cell within him. Let's consider another way to defeat the unstoppable Demon King Tanjiro. One possibility that comes to mind is the use of the Wisteria tree. We know that the poison from the Wisteria can greatly damage demons and even kill them. So what if he had a sword embedded or made out of Wisteria? Could that potentially defeat Demon King Tanjiro, even in the hands of the legendary demon slayer Yoriichi? Well, the only issue is that the Wisteria poison seems to have a limited effect on the upper moon demons, such as Doma. Even with the high dose of Wisteria poison, it only weakens them, and it's not a direct cause of their death. Upper moon demons possess unimaginable regeneration power that essentially nullifies the damage from the Wisteria poison. So even if Yoriichi were to wield a sword embedded or made out of Wisteria, it may not make a significant difference against Demon King Tanjiro. While it could potentially cause him pain, Tanjiro's incredible regeneration abilities would likely allow him to heal from the damage inflicted by the Wisteria poison. So his only option is to destroy every single cell of Muzan's blood within him. But have you ever wondered how Yoriichi's attacks could fare against Tanjiro's immortality? Demon King Tanjiro's immortality extends even to sunlight, making it challenging for Yoriichi to deal fatal damage to this unstoppable immortal demon. Demons like Tanjiro have the ability to heal instantly, as seen when Akaza destroyed Doma's jaw, only for it to regenerate in the blink of an eye. Yoriichi's attacks may face a similar fate against Demon King Tanjiro. It is only worth noting that Yoriichi's attacks were effective against Muzan due to the bright red Nichiren sword. However, even then, Yoriichi was unable to kill Muzan. Now with Demon King Tanjiro lacking that weakness, it becomes even more challenging for Yoriichi to land a fatal blow. While the battle may not be easy for Tanjiro, he possesses the advantage of immortality and the ability to continuously damage Yoriichi over time. A battle of endurance could be the path to victory. So how would the fight go down? Well, to summarize their fight, Yoriichi and Demon King Tanjiro clash with an intensity that shakes the very foundation of their surroundings. Yoriichi, the creator of sun breathing, unleashes the full power of his technique, utilizing the 13th forms with unparalleled skill and precision. Each strike slices through the air with blinding speed, aiming to dismantle Tanjiro's defenses. Will Yoriichi's unmatched skill and precision be enough to eradicate every cell of Demon King Tanjiro? Well, in the midst of their battle, Yoriichi's mastery of sun breathing becomes more evident. He effortlessly transitions from one attack to another, showcasing the forms of sun breathing. We've got the clear blue sky, the raging sun, and the fake rainbow. Each form carries its own unique strength and purpose, delivering devastating blows to Demon King Tanjiro. But in his crazed state, Tanjiro fights back with the ferocity fueled by his demonic powers. His bone blade whip and sharp nails become deadlier weapons, aiming to pierce through Yoriichi's defenses. Despite Yoriichi's superior technique, Tanjiro's relentless attacks manage to land a few hits, leaving Yoriichi with wounds that slowly accumulate over time. The battle intensifies as Yoriichi encounters Tanjiro's onslaught with the flame dance form of sun breathing, engulfing the battlefield in a blaze of fiery power. But even as Yoriichi's strikes slice up Tanjiro, there's no real damage. Why? Well, as I said before, this is because of the immunity to the sun, therefore making him immune to Nichiren swords. This is also because of his unmatched regeneration, shrugging off damage inflicted upon him. The clash between Yoriichi and Demon King Tanjiro reaches its climax, both pushing themselves to their limits, their determination unwavering. But the toll starts to show on Yoriichi. Exhaustion sets in, and his movements begin to slow down ever so slightly. This is because he has also been using the transparent world along with his other abilities, which take quite a toll on the user, especially in a drawn-out fight. Sensing an opportunity, Tanjiro seizes a moment and strikes with all of his might, delivering a fatal blow to Yoriichi. So is this the end for Yoriichi? Well, with an unexpected turn of events, Yoriichi manages to counter it using the same technique he did on Muzan, whereby combining all forms of sun breathing, he could slice Tanjiro into the molecular level, disintegrating every demon cell within his body and cutting up his brain and heart. The accumulated hits from his bone blade whip and sharp nails, combined with his immortality, may have proven to give Yoriichi a lot of trouble, but the strongest demon slayer is still the victor. The battle between these two extraordinary beings showcase their immense power and resilience they possess. Comment down below what your thoughts are about this fight, and let us know if you have some interesting ideas on how to kill Demon King Tanjiro. But have you ever wondered what would happen if instead of Yoriichi, Demon King Tanjiro fought all of the upper moons? Check out our next video. that that's done, let's start off with the first scenario. What would happen if Demon King Tanjiro fought Muzan after he was poisoned by Tamayo? For the sake of the story, there won't be any other characters involved, and it's just a 1v1. They're going to fight at night, and Muzan can't use his blood to control or hurt Tanjiro because that would be an auto win for Muzan. So let's analyze our fighters. Just how strong is Demon King Tanjiro? Well, we didn't see a lot of Demon King Tanjiro, and he quickly disappeared and didn't deal that much damage. But what we can say is that he was potentially the strongest demon in all of Demon Slayer's history. But why? Well, Tanjiro is immune to sunlight, something that Muzan couldn't even achieve. And since no one else knows sun breathing, he's basically immortal. But what about his blood demon art and fighting style? Well, Tanjiro's blood demon art is just like Muzan's as well, which is biokinesis, where he can manipulate his body and flesh. He also uses a short to mid-range fighting style. So what's the difference between him and Muzan? Well, it's because Tanjiro has knowledge of sun breathing. If Tanjiro came to his senses and accepted being a demon, then he would basically be like Kokushibo and Muzan mixed together and on steroids. But what about Muzan? Well, if you've read the manga, especially the final battle in the Infinity Castle, Muzan's strength is nothing to laugh at. Even if he was weakened by Tamayo's poison, he went on to massacre hundreds of demon slayers and fended off the strongest Hashiras. His abilities include the whips just like Tanjiro's, infinite regeneration, unlimited stamina, biokinesis, genius intellect, and a shockwave energy blast. But I know what you're thinking. All of those are just like Tanjiro's skills. Well, Muzan has one thing that may put him at an advantage, and that's his battle IQ and experience. With all the fighters set, we can finally answer the question, who will win in a fight between Demon King Tanjiro and a weakened Muzan? Well, the fight would go like this. Just as Tanjiro transforms into a demon, he'll go berserk just like he did in the original manga. Tanjiro would go ahead and fight Muzan head-on, charging like a wild beast. Muzan can then easily predict his movements and pull off a counterattack that might cut off every limb Tanjiro has. And take note, Muzan's still in his base Michael Jackson form, so will it be that easy? Well, not so much. Because just like Muzan, Demon King Tanjiro has overpowered regeneration. As the fight drags on, it'll be a battle of pure stamina and will, where Muzan might feel like he's duking it out with nothing more than a mindless demon. But everything ends there. So what would be the trigger for such a drastic turn of events? Well, everything would change if and only if Tanjiro gains consciousness and breaks free from his berserk state. When this happens, the fight will definitely take a turn for the worse for Muzan. Tanjiro would just be like Kokushibo, an overpowered demon swordsmith, but multiply that to 100. Remember, Tanjiro knows sun breathing, and not only that, he acts as a transparent world and demon slayer mark, so now he has Yoriichi and Muzan's abilities without both their weaknesses, old age, and the sun. But does Muzan just lose from here on? Well, Muzan would still put up a fight, especially if he activates his combat form. In the manga, Tanjiro wasn't as fast as Muzan, especially since even Gyu had time to save the others before Tanjiro killed them with his whips. So Muzan has speed and battle IQ, while Tanjiro has firepower and durability. Muzan could potentially use his advantages to quickly immobilize Tanjiro before he could adjust to his current state, but how would he deal the killing blow? Well, that's one question that Muzan won't get an answer to. In chapter 202 of the manga, both Yushiro and Gyu acknowledge that because of Tanjiro's resistance to sunlight and his potential to evolve, he's practically immortal because even bright red Nichiren swords aren't effective against him. Now that Tanjiro can't be killed, how will the battle end? Well, once Tanjiro gets used to his demonic form, Poison Muzan is probably going to go down. Human Tanjiro was no match for Muzan in a 1v1, but now with his increased speed and strength, decapitating Muzan would be no problem at all. However, there might be something more interesting that has a higher chance of happening. Instead of relying on his Demon Slayer techniques, Tanjiro might choose to use his newfound demonic abilities because he still can't use his body properly to execute breathing styles. But you might see him using that in the next scenario. This fight would be a lot more entertaining, and instead of decapitating, Muzan would just be sliced up into bits. Tanjiro could just slash him using his whips out of existence. But is that enough? Well, even if Muzan regenerates, Tanjiro has unlimited stamina and can just keep Muzan immobilized until the sun comes up. In the end, Muzan will be disintegrated and there will be a new Demon King that'll wreak havoc in the world of Demon Slayer. Now, Poison Muzan wasn't nearly as strong as him in his prime, but he was still able to put up a fight against Tanjiro. But now, what would happen if Demon King Tanjiro fought a full-powered Muzan? Would there be any difference, and could Muzan turn the tables? Well, let's go ahead and take a look. In this current fight, there will be a lot of similarities with the first scenario, but there will be some major differences as well, so keep watching to find out. One of the major differences in this scenario is that Muzan wasn't poisoned by Tamayo and is feeling the best he's ever been. But what difference would this make? Well, Muzan would be faster and stronger. His regeneration would be even more effective, and most of all, his blood demon art would be more powerful. What about Tanjiro? Well, Tanjiro will start off more or less the same, go going berserk and having the same abilities as mentioned before. So what would happen in this battle? Well, to start things off, Tanjiro would do the same things he did in the first scenario by charging Muzan head on and Muzan just countering his every move, but this time, Muzan's attacks are deadlier and cause more damage. Moving past that, what would Tanjiro do if he came to his senses? Well, this is when things become interesting, and this is the key difference in both scenarios. As Tanjiro comes to his senses, he'll also try to rely on his demon powers because he still hasn't gotten used to his new body, but instead of Muzan getting beaten, Tanjiro would just get absolutely demolished by Muzan. Why? Well, Muzan without being weakened is a different beast of his own. In the Demon Slayer's second fan book, it was said that Muzan's mastery of his own blood demon art is so advanced that he can create puppets of flesh and command them. Now, we didn't see that in the original series, and it might be because of Tameyo's poison, but he could definitely use that now. With Muzan going all out in his combat form, Tanjiro, while only using his demon powers, would likely stand no chance and just get beaten to a pulp. If it wasn't for his insane regeneration, Tanjiro would have died more than a dozen times by now. So how could Tanjiro turn the tables on Muzan? Well, we've mentioned it before that it's happening now. Tanjiro will likely use sun breathing and his other Demon Slayer techniques after he has some time to adjust. Sun breathing is the only breathing style that can severely damage Muzan, where when it was used by Yoriichi, he was able to burn Muzan to a cellular level. Not only that, the transparent world also allows Tanjiro to predict Muzan's movements, and instead of wildly attacking, he can use both his sun breathing and blood demon art to effectively attack Muzan. But will Muzan get beaten again just like that? Well, not quite. You see, Muzan when he was poisoned was biologically aged over 9,000 years, and now he's in tip-top shape. He'll have more ways to use his blood demon art other than clones and whips, unlike in the original series. Just like he did in the Lower Moon meeting, Muzan will most likely transform his body parts as well as that of his clones into some horrific monsters to outnumber Tanjiro and match his firepower. You might even see around 3 to 5 combat form Muzans all trying to fight Tanjiro at once. So will Muzan finally get a win? Well, sorry to say Muzan simps, but Tanjiro mentioned before is basically immortal. No matter what Muzan throws at him, he can simply regenerate and fight back. Tanjiro, especially with his 13th form of sun breathing, is in a league of his own. While Muzan can barely be damaged by the sun breathing, and when most of his 7 hearts and 5 brains are destroyed, he'll be weakened. But you might think Muzan escaped Yoriichi, then he can escape Tanjiro. Well, Muzan escaped Yoriichi because Yoriichi was talking to Tameyo, and now that Tanjiro's locked onto him, even if he splits himself into over 1,000 pieces, he can still be caught. In the end, Muzan will be defeated once again, and there are 2 ways he can die. First is that he'll be killed by sun breathing after Tanjiro will dice him up into a cellular level. Or the other way is just like the first scenario. Tanjiro will immobilize him so he'll die by the sunlight. So that's it for what would happen if Demon King Tanjiro and Muzan fought. It's a 2-0 score, and Tanjiro would have been a horrifying villain to fight if not for Kano and Nezuko. But before you click away, have you ever wondered what would happen if Yoriichi fought Demon King Tanjiro? Well, check it out in our next video.